Do you really have free will? Or is everything decided? Neuroscience versus theology versus moral responsibility. Have you ever stopped and asked yourself, why did I make this choice? Did I really choose this job, this relationship, this path? Or was it already decided by my past, by my genes, by something else? You say you chose to click this video, but what if that decision was already coded into you by neurons firing, patterns repeating, a childhood wound you forgot, or a moment you couldn't control? What if free will is just the illusion your brain feeds you after the decision is already made? And yet deep inside you something resists. Something says, no, I choose. I am not just a machine. But how can we be sure? Can science explain this freedom? Can philosophy defend it? Or are we just characters in a story that's already been written, trying to convince ourselves we're the authors? In this journey, we'll explore one of the most haunting questions of human existence. Do we have free will? Or are we just watching ourselves unfold? And as always on Just Think, we won't just chase facts. We'll chase the truth that moves us. In the lab, things seem simple. Electrodes placed, lights blink, thoughts mapped. Scientists ask you to move your finger, and you do. But here's the twist. The decision to move, to act, to choose, it shows up in your brain before you even realize you made it. A famous experiment in the 1980s by Benjamin Libet stunned the world. He found that the brain's motor cortex became active 350 milliseconds before people reported deciding to move. In other words, your brain decided before you did. Some say this proves it. Free will is an illusion. The brain acts and the you just watches, inventing a story after the fact, as if we're living in a movie that plays before we write the script. Modern neuroscience has only deepened the mystery. Brain scans show that many choices, from political opinions to purchases, can be predicted before the conscious mind is aware. That chill you get when entering a room, that person you trust instantly, that moment you say yes or no without knowing why. Your brain might already be 3 steps ahead. So, where does that leave us? Are we just clever computers? Predictable animals? Echoes of our chemistry? But if that were all we are, then why do we feel conflict inside? Why do we struggle to choose what's right? Why do we regret? Machines don't regret. Algorithms don't cry at 2 a.m. and wonder, what if the science is loud, but the soul whispers something else? Long before brain scans and data, there were philosophers sitting under olive trees, staring at stars and asking, are we free? The ancient Stoics said no. The universe, they believed, was a web of causes and effects, a perfect chain of destiny. You could control your response, yes, but your circumstances, already chosen by fate. Then came Spinoza, the man who saw God not as a person but as the system itself. For Spinoza, everything, even your thoughts, are ripples in a cosmic ocean. You do what you do because of who you are, and who you are was formed by everything before you. A stone thrown in the air also thinks it flies freely, he wrote, but not all surrendered. Sartre, the existentialist, thundered, man is condemned to be free, condemned because there's no excuse, you must choose. Even not choosing is a choice. And Dostoevsky, haunted and holy, wrote about the terrifying burden of freedom. Give a man bread, certainty and safety, and he may still destroy it, just to prove that he can. So who is right? The ones who say we are puppets, or the ones who say we are gods? Maybe both are wrong, or both are only seeing half the truth. Because in this debate, there's one piece still missing, a quiet piece, that even the smartest minds have struggled to name. There's a place no microscope can reach, no fMRI can scan it, no algorithm can replicate it. That place is you, not the name on your passport, not the list of memories in your brain, but the silent observer behind it all, the one who watches the thoughts, but is not the thoughts. The one who, in the stillness of a sleepless night, whispers, "This isn't me. This isn't who I am." Science can tell us what the brain does. It can measure dopamine, chart impulses, map the prefrontal cortex. But it can't explain why pain hurts, or why love feels like flight. It can't tell us where the red in a rose comes from, not the wavelength, but the beauty. That gap between knowing the mechanism and experiencing the meaning is where the soul waits. Philosophers call it qualia, the raw feeling of being, the taste of coffee, the ache of longing, the presence of music before words can catch it. And no matter how deep we go into the brain, consciousness itself remains untouched. Some call it illusion, others call it spirit, but everyone, whether believer or skeptic, feels its presence, like a shadow we can't catch, but can't live without. And so we return to the question, if I am just atoms, why do I feel like more? And if every decision is a chemical reaction, why do I care what's right? Let's say the brain does act before the mind knows. Let's say the neurons fire, the circuits dance, and you are just following the current. Even so, who built the river? Who set the banks? Who decided what would shape your choices and why you resist them? Modern science has done something remarkable. It has shown us how deeply our environment shapes us. Trauma, culture, hormones, feedback loops, they all nudge the needle. But there's something they haven't explained. Why some people rise above it? Two people, same pain. One breaks, one forgives, same system, same stimulus, different choice. Why? Free will doesn't mean freedom from influence. It means the power to respond, not just react, to take the hand you're dealt and still play differently. Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor, wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. And in our choice lies our growth and our freedom. That space is not made of flesh, not shaped by brainwaves. It's something deeper. And every time you resist hatred, every time you tell the truth when a lie would be easier, you prove it exists. The world says, you are a machine, you are a pattern, you are a product. But the soul says, no, I am more, and somewhere inside you know it's right. Imagine a world where no one is responsible, where every action, every cruelty, every betrayal is explained away by wiring, chemicals, childhood scripts. He couldn't help it, they say. It's how his brain is built. But if no one can help anything, then who is guilty? And more importantly, who is good? If we have no choice, then what is forgiveness? What is justice? What is love? If it's just neurons firing a pattern, this is not just philosophy. This is your life. Every law, every promise, every I'm sorry only makes sense if we are free to choose otherwise. A parent who sacrifices, a stranger who saves, a whistleblower who speaks truth and loses everything. These moments only shine because they were not programmed, they were chosen. To deny free will is to flatten the human spirit, to strip away its depth, its dignity, its weight, and yet so many do. Because freedom is terrifying. To be free means you are not a puppet, but it also means you are responsible. And in that responsibility, in that weight, lies something holy, something no lab can bottle, something no scanner can see. In the still moments, between one breath and the next, a strange silence opens, and inside it something stirs, not your personality, not your biology, but something older, something untouched, a watcher behind the eyes, a whisper that says, choose. What is this? Space. Neuroscience can't measure it, physics can't map it, but it's there. Every time you resist the darkness, every time you say no to ease and yes to what is right. Some call it conscience, Others call it the soul, but whatever name you give it, it feels like a door that opens onto a different kind of reality, one where love is not a trick of hormones, but a light that outlives death, one where meaning isn't a side effect, but the point. Maybe freedom didn't evolve. Maybe it was given, not as proof of power, but as an invitation to rise, to create, to say, I'm not just what I've been made into. I can become something more. And if there is a source, a mind behind the stars, would it not be in freedom that he left his signature? So, do you really have free will? The scientists argue. The philosophers debate, the algorithms predict. But none of them can feel what you feel when you stand at a crossroads. And the world waits for your answer. There is no equation for courage, no formula for compassion, and no machine can teach you what it means to forgive. You are not just biology, you are not just chance. You are a mystery wrapped in consciousness, carrying a spark that no telescope has ever seen. And that spark? It burns brightest when you choose to rise, to question, to change, to love, even when it hurts. That is what makes you human. And maybe what makes you something more. So, the question remains, are you truly free? Maybe the only way to answer is to live as if you are. And if you're still watching, maybe that's what you were meant to hear today. If these thoughts moved you, if they sparked something ancient and true, don't let them fade. Subscribe. Join us. Let's think deeply, bravely together, because the examined life just might change everything.